Hey guys, Welsknight here, and welcome back to another episode of Satisfactory. Hope you guys are having an awesome day. I'm having a fantastic day. We are here today in the western portion of the map, kind of down here, and we are going to be creating a new factory for aluminum and power, which should be a lot of fun. And I wanted to kind of show you how I lay out my factories and plan them a little bit. So, you can see here, we've kind of laid some stuff out. And it's kind of a useful little thing. In Satisfactory, if you hit X, you can open up the swatches and apply colors, so you can like make these foundations orange or whatever. And that can really help you out with your factory planning, and then you can change them later. So like, for example, I know I'm going to need oil coming in from these pipes, and I know that we're going to need foundries. I believe it is like 12 foundries to produce fuel or something like that. So I can mark those out with like the light blue here and be like, these are the foundries. And then I can use the orange to be like, okay, this is the incoming pipeline where the oil is going to be. And then the gold is for the output that the foundries produce and stuff like that. So it can kind of help you sort of lay out your factories before you start putting down all the machines and the walls and the belt work and all that kind of stuff, which is super useful. Now, this isn't like the final location of where I'm going to put the foundries. I still need to kind of work all that stuff out, but I wanted to show you sort of the process there. Once this is all said and done, we're going to be making quite a lot of stuff. We have a lot of different resources coming in: quartz, coal, bauxite, and copper, and then oil from the other side. And we're going to kind of combine it all together with a bunch of different machines and stuff like that to produce a total of 150 alclad aluminum sheets, 60 aluminum casing, 80 plastic, 6,000 megawatts of power from 40 fuel generators, and it's going to be pretty sweet. This is going to be like a relatively large factory, at least compared to everything we've built so far, and I really want to take some time to make sure that it looks good as well. Because this is going to be a pretty big project, and I'm super excited for it. So yeah, it's pretty good. Also, I want to kind of elevate it on foundations. So you can see if we take like a 1 meter foundation here, we can put it on top of the foundations that we've already put down, and you can use it to sort of elevate the factory and add almost like a little border around it, and I think that'll create a really nice effect. So we can use like these polished concrete foundations on top of the regular default foundations that we already have laid down, to just sort of add like a little bit of an emphasis. And I think that's going to be like a really cool look. And then we can like maybe paint them like a darker color or something like that afterwards. So should be pretty cool. I'm really excited. Let's dive into this project. Okay, I think I've got a pretty good plan for how this is all going to be sort of laid out. So we've got our fuel or our crude oil coming in from over here. And then over in this room or cell or whatever you want to call it, we have 8 constructors taking raw quartz and turning it into 200 silica. So each of these constructors is making 25 per minute and is underclocked to 66%. That's a total of 200 silica from those 8 constructors. And then over in this room, we have 2 refineries taking a total of 240 bauxite and a bunch of water and making alumina solution and 100 more silica between the 2 of them. So that gives us a total of 300 silica when you combine it with these constructors. And the alumina solution is what ultimately gets turned into aluminum scrap and then aluminum ingots. So the silica is being piped up to the 2nd floor up there where it will combine with the stuff from the constructors, and the alumina solution is being piped over to this one refinery to be combined with 120 coal to make 360 aluminum scrap and 120 cubic meters of water. The aluminum scrap is then being piped back that way and up to the 2nd floor, and the water is being piped over to the left over here to these 6 refineries, which are also taking polymer resin, which we'll produce later, and combining it with the water to make plastic. And the plastic I'm probably just going to stick into awesome shop, or an awesome sink, I should say. So the polymer resin is going to come from the 12 refineries that I still have to put down, which will make our fuel. But those will get piped over here. Those will make our plastic. And basically the reason these are here are just to get rid of the polymer resin that's a byproduct of making the fuel for all of our generators. So that's kind of the way there, because we want to make sure that the system doesn't get backed up. So yeah, that's why we need to do something with the polymer resin. Okay, so then if we pop up here to the second floor, we can take a look at the other stuff that's going on. So over here, I have 4 foundries, and these are going to be producing our actual aluminum ingots by taking the aluminum scrap and the silica that we are producing to make 60 aluminum ingots each. That's a total of 240 aluminum ingots. So we've got 300 silica and all of our aluminum scrap being fully utilized there and turned into the aluminum ingots, which will ultimately get turned into the alclad aluminum sheets and the aluminum casings. So then over here we have 2 smelters that are just taking 50 copper ore and making 50 copper ingots. I've got those underclocked as well to hit the right levels because we need that for our production as well. And then I guess we'll just pop in here. I still need to make an actual walkway. But in this room then, we have 5 assemblers, which are making our alclad aluminum sheets. They take 3 aluminum ingots and 1 copper ingot each. And then this one constructor here is making our aluminum casings. So we are, utilizing all of the aluminum ingots and stuff we're producing to make a total of 150 aluminum sheets and 60 casings per minute. So, as for the belt work here, there's 2 ways in Satisfactory, basically, that you can do belt work. There is the overflow method, and there is the load balancing method. And load balancing we have done primarily up until this point, but we're mostly using the overflow method in this formula, except for right here where we have a little bit of a hybrid system. So load balancing is where you use your belts and your splitters and your mergers and all that kind of stuff to evenly divide all of the resources between all of your machines right off the bat. And the overflow method is where you stick them all on one line and sort of split them off a little bit at a time until eventually all the machines fill up, because the first one will fill up first, and then the excess resources will go to the second machine and the third, and so on and so forth, until all of the resources are utilized. Both methods have their pros and cons. The overflow method is much more space efficient, but the load balancing method works much faster. Your factory reaches full efficiency much faster. So over here we've got, as I said, kind of a little bit of a hybrid method, because we're producing 240 aluminum ingots, but we need to split that into 2 separate lines, one of 150 to make our aluminum sheets, and one of 90 to make our casings. So the way that this kind of works is we have to divide all of this aluminum ingot stuff, our 240, into eighths, and then take, which will basically divide each of the little sections into 30, and then we'll take 5 of them and split them off one direction to make 150, and the remaining 3 off in the other direction to make 90. So here we have the 5 for 150, and then here on the other side we have the 90 for our casings. So that's kind of the idea, and you can see this takes up like quite a lot of space, whereas load balancing, or I should say whereas the overflow method, it would be just essentially one line. But I think it's worth it to at least load balance the overall like production chunks. So I still have a lot left to do with this. Obviously we don't really have any like walls and stuff yet. I still need to put down the refineries for the fuel production and the 40 fuel generators. I think the refineries are going to go kind of like over where I was walking. I also want to make sure I leave room for a train station for future expansion, because eventually I want to have a train that comes here to pick up all the resources. So yeah, and then the fuel generators I think I'm going to go put off over there. So that's kind of the plan. It's coming along. It's going okay. But yeah, still a lot left to do. Okay, I think I've got the majority of the factory done at this point, and it's looking pretty good. I decided to go with a fairly modern style here. So our aluminum products that we're producing are being sent to these 2 containers temporarily. For now, this is where they're going to go to. Eventually, I'll have a train station, and we will reroute the belts at that time, but they're coming out of the wall up there and going into there. And then over here we've got all of our fuel generators producing our 6,000 megawatts of power, which is pretty awesome. That's a lot of power compared to what we had before, so that's good. And then the interior, I've done some decorating and some stuff as well. So we've got like our constructors over here that are producing our silica, and we've got that all kind of laid out. We put some stripes on the floor. In here, we've got our 12 refineries producing the fuel from the crude oil and making polymer resin as well. And they've got kind of their own little room here. And then you can sort of follow it down here. We've got our 2 refineries that are making our alumina solution and our silica. And they've got kind of their own little room with glass up above. And then in here, the 1 refinery that's making the aluminum scrap. Again, kind of has its own little room. And then I put like a nice double door right here and sort of put in some big windows and stuff like that. We've got a belt up here that's making polymer stuff. Polymer resin, yes. We're making polymer resin. And it's got a belt that kind of goes through the walls. I tried to use a lot of like wall belt hole things in this because I think they look really clean and really nice. So all of those products are kind of coming in here, and then there's a lot of like doorways, big windows, all that kind of stuff to give us a very kind of modern vibe, which I quite like. And a lot of I used a lot of the metal style walls as well for the interior walls, which I think looks really nice. Put some lights on the ceiling. We've got some pillars and things like that as well. The factory's kind of located in 2 chunks. We've got the stuff that's on the ground level, but then up above we've got a bunch of other stuff as well, as you can see, and they're supported by these sort of pillars here, which I think looks really nice. Kind of gives us like that nice overhang, and also gives us a more interesting shape for the factory than just having like a box. So instead it's like a box and then an elevated sticky outie box. So, you know, it gives us some depth and some interesting shape and stuff like that, which is great. But yeah, we've got kind of like a little entranceway here. We've got the pillars, and then if we work back the other way, there's you can go up the stairs here, and we've got some like catwalks up here, which I think is pretty cool. You can sort of get around the upper levels of the factory. These catwalks kind of run throughout it. We've also got like a nice big corridor with some glass windows. In here we've got our 4 foundries that are making our aluminum ingots, and again they have kind of like their own little section here. I wanted to sort of section everything off so that like each little area kind of has its own sort of a semi-room where it's not like completely encased behind walls, but there's like divider walls to sort of break everything up. And then, as I said, we're using these conveyor belt wall holes to sort of bring things in because I think they look pretty nice. So all the products from these foundries. Oh yeah, by the way, I also changed the default color palette. So it's blue now. It's like a blue and silver, which I think looks nice. But anyway, these belts kind of feed into the other room through the walls, which I think looks pretty good. And they feed into our constructor here making casings, and our assemblers over here making the aluminum sheets. And then they feed out another conveyor wall hole over here to those 2 containers that I showed at the start. So yeah, then out this door we have just kind of like a patio area type place. I imagine that like if you were a worker at this factory, this is where you would go like on your break, you know, just to kind of like hang out, get some fresh air, maybe, have a conversation with a coworker. Maybe there'd be like some coffee tables and stuff out here where you'd like eat your lunch, just kind of like a little break area. But if we work our way through here, I may put windows here yet. I don't know. For now, I'm going to leave it the way it is. But this leads directly into where those refineries are, as you can see. So, yeah, good stuff. Might put windows in here, but for now, I'm just going to leave it the way it is. And then down below, we're taking any extra aluminum products that we're making right now, because we can only store so much in those containers, and feeding them into an awesome sink. And then in the back, there we go. In the back, we are taking the extra plastic that we're making, because we don't really need it. We're producing plenty of plastic elsewhere in the world, so we're just taking the plastic from those refineries and feeding them into an awesome sink back here. So, yeah, you can kind of see it coming through, and there we go. Also back here, this is where we're going to put the train station, I think, once we eventually get into trains. And those will connect up to the Skyway, way off in the distance over there. But this is where the products will ultimately be transported to, picked up by the train, and brought back to our main base once we eventually get into trains. But, we're not into trains yet. We'll get there eventually. But yeah, for now, I think the factory is pretty much done. Okay, so we are back at our base now, and we can take our stuff and unlock Logistics Mark III, which I've already done. But this will give us the highest level of conveyor belts and conveyor lifts. These things will do 780 resources per minute, which is a huge upgrade from our previous highest. I think was 480 or 4. Is that right? 4 something. I don't know. Either way, we can now produce a lot of stuff, and I have swapped out a lot of the belts going into the awesome sink because they were getting backed up, and now they are running fine. And we can take all of the coupons that we have earned from our awesome sink and unlock some stuff as well. So if we pop here into the awesome shop, you can see I have already unlocked pretty much all of the build related stuff. I'm going to grab a couple things here. You can see I've gotten all the walls and all the foundations and stuff like that. I need the factory cart. The statues I'm going to wait on because they're just aesthetic. They're just really for bragging rights. And then we've got equipment and parts and stuff as well. But yeah, the statues, they don't really do anything. They're just kind of for bragging rights. So I'm going to hold off on those and put my tickets into more relevant things. But then you can also buy equipment like ammo packs and health packs and stuff like that. And you can buy parts with your coupons as well, which can serve as kind of a nice little shortcut if you need something that you don't have a proper production line for, like supercomputers. You can be like, oh, I need supercomputers. Spend 8 tickets, get 50 supercomputers. Pretty nice. So I'm going to buy those. And then, you know what? Let's buy some supercomputers as well. There we go. So that should be good. What happened to my supercomputers? Supercomputers? Did I just waste 8 tickets? Where did my supercomputers go? Oh, there they are. Okay, we're good. I thought I didn't take them out or something and therefore lost them, but we're good. Okay. So we've got our 50 supercomputers. And then we can use those, since we don't have a proper production line for supercomputers at the moment, we can use those to unlock new stuff, which is pretty cool. So we'll put our tickets back in there. And then let's just go check the hub terminal here. So, let's see. Particle enrichment. Okay, so leading edge production for the Miner Mark III requires supercomputers. And nuclear power requires supercomputers as well. I might actually just be able to unlock this right now. Do I have the... I might actually have enough for this. Hold on. Nope, I'm just short. I'm just a little bit short. That's fine, though. What I actually want to do is look at the MAM and use those supercomputers in here to unlock geothermal generators and programmable splitters. And at the moment, I can only do one. So I think I will do the Geothermal Generator, because a programmable splitter is basically just a smart splitter, but a little bit better. Like a smart splitter, you can choose one item per side to be like, hey, left is iron bars or something. And a programmable splitter, you can do multiple items per side, but you really can't. You can just use a smart splitter for basically everything you can use a programmable splitter for. You just might need more of them. Whereas geothermal generators are a new power source. So let's start the research on those. These are pretty cool. Geothermal generators, you plop them down on top of a geothermal vent, and then they produce a variable amount of power, and there's no other real cost. Like, you don't have to feed them any sort of fuel or anything like that. You just kind of plop them down, hook them up to your power network, and sort of forget about them, which is pretty cool. Now, they do produce a variable amount of power. So you want to grab usually like a power storage, which is essentially just a big battery that takes your excess power, and that'll kind of help you smooth it out a little bit. But yeah, power storage, they basically just take any sort of extra power that you're producing in your network and store it, so that if something happens to your power grid, like something goes down, you have essentially battery backups for a while. To sort of tide you over. So at some point I'm going to want to make a very large sort of battery bank to store a bunch of extra power just in case something happens. I think that would be very wise. So yeah, good stuff. You can see power grid right now. With the addition of all those fuel generators, we're producing about 11,000 megawatts of power. It's still dipping a little bit here and there, but that should smooth itself out once the new factory has just been running for a while. So that shouldn't be an issue. But yeah, good stuff. I'm honestly super happy with our progress this episode. The factory itself, like, I'm pretty happy with the factory design that we did today, but it still could be like a little bit better, but it's getting there. Like, the building is getting better. And I think next episode we're going to start tackling like our proper main base, which I think will be really good. I have a really cool idea for a design. I think it's going to be a ton of fun, and I'm super excited for it. But I think that's about all that we have time for today. Guys, if you enjoyed the video, you know what to do. The link's in the description below, so check that out as well. Otherwise, my friends, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.